What is up guys, my name is Ignas, welcome back to the channel. For several weeks we have been looking into the tech sector to find interesting names so we can expand on our exposure there. We now have over $1,200 in, which takes up 19.75% of the portfolio, and that is real close to our target of 20%. So I believe now is a good time to switch over to another sector that I'm interested in. And that will be industrials. Currently I have $550 there, and it takes 8.71% of the portfolio, with a target of exactly 10%. So right now I have 3 names in, and there is one position that is taking my attention the most. So in March of this year I started a position in FedEx, ticker symbol FDX. The position is currently around 1.41% of the portfolio, and it is unfortunately down for 26.39%. So could this be the right time to add into it? Or maybe we should be looking into another name from the same industry? To answer that question, we'll do a dividend comparison. So the first name for the comparison and the largest one from the industry is United Parcel Service, ticker symbol UPS. On the year to date, the stock is now down for 22.19%, but if we zoom out to 5 years, we do see a positive number higher for 38.72%. This will be the largest one of the 3 with a market cap of $144 billion US, and the stock is now trading at a dividend yield of 3.66%. Now the second name is the one that we are now holding, FedEx Corporation, ticker symbol FDX. This year it has been performing even worse, minus 39.22% on the year to date, and that is pretty much the same of the last 5 years, with the stock down for 30.18%. The market cap of it is way smaller, currently at $40.89 billion, and it is trading at a dividend yield of 2.93%. So these two are the largest players in the industry, but there is one more stock I want to try against them, and that is Expeditors, ticker symbol EXPD. On the year to date, the stock is down for 29.13%, but then if we zoom out to the last 5 years, the stock had the most growth, up for 57.42%. Company's market cap though is quite small at $15.16 billion, and it is now trading at a dividend yield of 1.45%. So these 3 are the names for today's dividend comparison, and to make that happen, let's go to Google Sheets. Now I already have this table with the tickers in it, and to make the comparison possible, we'll use 5 different metrics: dividend yield, dividend payout ratio, years of consecutive dividend increases, 5-year compound annual dividend growth rate, and the current dividend yield compared to its 5-year average. The best stock under each metric will get a point, then we'll sum the points up, and in the end the stock with the most points will be considered the winner of this dividend comparison. I hope that the rules were clear, and early thumbs up would be very much appreciated, and with that out of the way, let's begin. So the first metric we are taking a look into is the dividend yield. It is calculated by taking the annual dividend per share and dividing it by the share price. UPS is currently paying an annual dividend of $6.08, which at the current price of $165.86 per share is a dividend yield of 3.68%. Switching to FedEx, their dividend is at $4.60, so at a price of $156.47, we here have a dividend yield of 2.95%. And then Expeditors, their dividend is at $1.34, so at a price of $92.36, we have a dividend yield of 1.45%. The second metric is the dividend payout ratio. Percentage here shows what part of company's earnings are being paid back to investors as dividends. So in UPS case, the dividend payout ratio is at 48.27%. Meaning that just under half of company's earnings are being used for the dividends. Now we have FedEx, and their dividend payout ratio is at 32.25%. So FedEx is using just a bit less of 1/3 of their earnings for dividends. And now Expeditors, where their payout ratio is at 23.41%, so they are using a bit less than 1/4 of their earnings to pay dividends. Now metric number here is the number of consecutive dividend increases. So for how many years the company has been increasing dividends for at least 1 quarter every year. In UPS case, they have been increasing dividends for the last 12 years straight. If we take FedEx, The number here is way lower with 2 years of consecutive dividend increases. And then surprisingly, Expeditors is playing on a whole different level, as they have been increasing dividends consistently for the last 29 years. Metric number 4 is the compound annual dividend growth rate. Here we'll take the 5-year average including the next year's estimate. So for UPS, the 5-year dividend growth rate is now at 10.81%. Switching to FedEx, and their 5-year compound annual dividend growth rate is at 13.43%. And then EXPD, they have the dividend growth rate at 8.29%. Now the last metric we are comparing is the dividend yield compared to its 5-year average. And for that we'll use my dividend investing watchlist on Google Sheets. So we now have the tab for UPS, and this is here the company's dividend yield history for each quarter of the last 5 years. Out of that we calculate that on average in 5 years the stock was trading at a dividend yield of 2.92%. So the best time to get into the stock was by the second quarter of 2020, where it was trading at a dividend yield of 4.01%, 37.53% higher than the 5-year average. And then the worst one was in exactly a year in 2021, where the dividend yield was at 1.90%, under the average for 34.84%. But if we would be getting into the stock right now at a dividend yield of 3.76%, that is now also way over the 5-year average for 28.96%. So this is here the number that shows how much undervalued the stock is, and we'll use that for our dividend comparison. Now let's take FedEx. We have its dividend yield history of the last 5 years, and on average the stock was trading at a dividend yield of 1.46%. So the worst time to get in was back in 2017 at a dividend yield of 0.79%, under the 5-year average for 42.07%. But with the stock selling off this year, we now have the dividend yield close to 3% at 2.93, which is not something we have seen in the last 5 years, currently over the average dividend yield for 114.84%. And the last one is Expeditors. We have its dividend yield history of the last 5 years, and on average the stock was trading at a yield of 1.19%. So the worst time to get in was back in 2021 at a dividend yield of 0.87%, under average for 27.07%, but recently the yield has been shooting up now at 1.49%, which is quite there over the 5-year average for 24.91%. Now if you would be interested in doing a similar analysis yourself, you are able to access this watchlist by following the second link at the top of the description. Otherwise, feel free to add a ticker symbol in a comment below, and I'll consider adding that into the watchlist myself. Maybe you could share some interesting opportunities in the market that I'm still missing. So we went through all the 5 metrics and the numbers are in. Now we can start assigning points. First one goes to UPS with the highest dividend yield at 3.68%, a point to Expeditors with the lowest dividend payout ratio with 23.41%, another point to EXPD with 29 years of consecutive dividend increases. 5-year compound annual dividend growth rate goes to FedEx with 13.43%. And the last point to FedEx again, where its current dividend yield is 115% higher than its 5-year average. Now that the points are in, we can calculate results. UPS got 1 point, FedEx 2, and Expeditors 2. This means that we now have a tie between FDX and the EXPD. Since UPS only got 1 point for the dividend yield, let's remove that and reassign that point elsewhere. So FedEx gets another point with a higher dividend yield of 2.95%. So now UPS has 1 point, FDX 3, and EXPD 2. This means that with 3 points, FedEx is now considered the winner of this dividend comparison. And that was it. Make sure to support the channel and leave a thumbs up under the video. Which of these stocks that we've looked into do you prefer? Share your best pick in a comment below. If you would be interested in getting access to my notes, then consider memberships. By becoming a member, you will get access to Discord, where I share all my Google Sheets documents and all the buys and sells exactly when I do them. This could be a great option to track my moves closely. Last week I have looked into several other companies, so if you are interested in any of these, then click on a video that is currently on the screen. And that was it from my side. Thank you for watching, and I will be seeing y'all in the next one.